Yeah, it's just something like I looked at my life, and I looked at my wife, like I did something right.
Silverback, and I'm with Raquel.
Raquel.
I was about to call you Raquish, but I don't know if I can call you that no more.
Nah, it's Raquel now.
Yeah, I used to call her AKA Raquish. That was a long time ago though, y'all. Let me give you a little backstory on Raquel here. Raquel used to be my right hand when it came to youth ministry. When I first started being a youth leader at my old church. Remember those days? Good old days, man. You did a lot of work.
We put in work.
We did put in work. Those were good times.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah.
But like usual, like normal young people, we go through this path where we just drift away, right?
Yeah.
And I think I haven't seen you in like about, I'd say, 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been a while. I'm a youth pastor now.
Mm-hmm.
I heard you're working on music, making beats and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So, this Unplugged series is, it's gonna get real, y'all. We're gonna talk into the topic of, we're gonna touch the topic of how the church pushes you away from God instead of keeping you close to God, keeping that relationship that we know the church to do. You know, well, some of us know the church as people that hurt you. I've talked to many young people on how the church has hurt them and the church has pushed them away from God instead of bringing them closer into a deep and intimate relationship with God. And Raquel, unfortunately, is one of those people. Not under my leadership, though, right?
Nah.
All right, good, because that one had me worried for like about a couple years. I honestly, to be honest with you, I really thought that I had failed you, and many youth leaders go through that.
Yeah.
But we've had that discussion already, right? So today, what I want to do is I want to ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
Because I believe that you're not the only, person that goes through this. I've talked to many people that go through this, and this is something that I want to touch because it's a very popular issue, very popular problem that nobody really likes to talk about. Nobody really likes to call it out. But you and I are going to do that today, right?
Yep, we is.
All right, that's what I want to get. I want to get down to the real stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you this. Do you think it was the leadership of the church that pushed you away, or just people in the church?
Well, it was a mix of both, definitely, because the people in our old church were very ignorant. They didn't accept what we were doing. We wanted to sing songs in English, because
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, most of our youth group, we all spoke English, and on our services, it's like, that's how we wanted to express our worship to God. And it's like, I don't think language should ever be a barrier to praising God.
Right.
And it's like, they created that,
Right.
It's like, oh, it's in English, I'm not gonna praise God. So they just watched us, like if we were throwing a show, like if we were a circus and judging, and
Right. I remember that. Like I stated before, Raquel was she was my right hand in leadership, and I began youth ministry with her and with other young people, and we would sing. I remember that. It's funny that you say that. We would sing songs in English and some in Spanish, so we could relate to them. But we found we wouldn't get support. We wouldn't get support from our church members or from our leadership. Some of the leadership did support us.
Yeah.
Now we can't bash on all of them, because some of them did support us. Some of them they didn't understand, but they clapped. They raised their hands when it was time to worship, and I remember that. And it was tough. It was tough during those times, because I remember how much they used to make fun of us as well while we were up there, and that was hard.
Yeah.
that was hard. That was hard for me to keep you guys motivated. For me as a leader to keep you guys motivated, it was also difficult. I remember that, and I could just I can't imagine how hard it was on you being right there. You know, you were like around, I'd say 16, maybe 16 when you were there. You were very young, and you were in leadership with me.
And they didn't even take me serious too, because I was young.
Yeah, I remember when we went to when we went on a missionary trip to India. I left you in charge.
Yeah, with Haley and my sister, because we were all leaders.
Yeah. That was hard, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
I was like, oh my God, never again. Like I was mad. I wanted to fight. You know, it's like, why do I gotta have these feelings at church? You know?
at church,
it's like,
right? At church.
It's like, damn.
Out of all the places at church.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, those are mistakes that we as human beings make,
Yeah.
and sometimes we just can't take it. You know, we can't blame God for it.
Yeah.
We can't blame God for it because we knew that God was with us. You know, He was the one that was with us.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, the enemy uses people. Sometimes he's going to use leadership in the church.
Yeah.
The enemy is in the church as well. And we have to know that. The devil's in the church as well, guys. We have to know that the devil's in the church as well. And he will use those people that are close to us in the church, those people that are in authority as well. You know, we just have to know that. So, on to the second question. Do you think the culture had anything to do with it? Like, when I say culture, I mean like the closed-minded Hispanic culture we all go through growing up, you know, the non-acceptance of like the modern stuff that's happening. Do you think that had like a big impact in you on deciding to just leave?
Yeah. I mean, you know, because they were very restrictive, you know, so judgmental, and they would come and tell us too, you know, they didn't care. They were hurting our feelings. It's like, don't wear pants, you know, you're doing this, you can't do this, you can't do that, you know, and it's like, what were we doing really? You know, we would go out, we were really about action, I think, right?
We were.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I feel like growing up, we went through a lot of you can't do this, and not as much as you can't do this because.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So what I would concentrate as a youth leader when we were leading was to go out and spread and establish God's kingdom, right? You remember that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I'm glad you do. I'm glad something stuck, man. What I'm seeing is that a lot stuck.
Yeah, I mean, God has always been the center of my life. Until this day, He still is.
Awesome. I'm happy to hear that, baby girl. I'm happy to hear that. So what we did a lot was go out, and we went to DC. We went to Silver Spring. You remember that flash mob we started in Silver Spring? That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
It was a lot of action, and the Now movement. It was a lot of action, but what we always received was, you can't do this, you can't do that, but we never really received, you can't do this, why? We never really received an explanation. We just, you know,
It was just like rules.
It was just
Just
rules
that they made
rules.
that we just have to follow,
Yeah.
or we're gonna go to hell.
Now, rules. Now, I'm not saying that rules are bad,
Yeah.
because with
yeah.
rules there are orders.
Yeah.
But and God is a God of order.
Yeah.
But I can't help to say that sometimes the rules that were put upon us were put upon us with no explanation. With no explanation. And I think that that pushes a lot of young people away. It pushes a lot of young people away, and it hurts my heart because I see how our old youth group is behaving now.
Mm-hmm.
And it also breaks my heart because this happens because we don't take the time to explain. We don't take the time to teach. We don't take the time to spend time with you guys and build that long-lasting relationship with you guys. We expect you to build a long-lasting relationship with God, but we don't want to build a long-lasting relationship with you. And I think that's the part where leadership, the elders, failed in. And I say this with all confidence because I feel like that's where most of us fail in. I try my best with my youth members now to build that long-lasting relationship. So I really do agree with you in that, and I respect your like opinion on that. What else do you think? Like, what else do you think about that closed-minded? I call it a closed-minded culture.
Yeah.
I call it a culture that doesn't explore and just sticks to whatever they grew up with.
Well, it affected me, growing up, because I couldn't relate to the other kids in school. I didn't know what they were talking about because, my mom was always really strict with me, always, making sure I was with God and, going to church. And, I was involved too, it wasn't like at that time when I was involved in church, I enjoyed it and I loved going to church and everything. But like, once you don't have that anymore, when you're not part of a team, it's like, why did I do all of this for? When there was all this trouble happening in the church that I didn't even know what was happening, but all of a sudden I'm taken out of the church and I have no explanation. No one is telling me why this happened. Exactly. So I came up with my own conclusions, and it's like it was nothing.
Right.
I felt like everything was a fraud. Nothing was real. But
that's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking to hear that because you're not the only one that goes through that.
yeah.
I myself went through that. And it took me a long time to get back into leadership because I found myself leading under a leadership that was corrupted. And I was like, well, how do I know that I won't run into another leadership that's corrupted? How do I know that I'm doing the right thing? But that's where, and my pastor now, I love you, Pastor. I love you, Pastor. I love when he says, feed yourself. That's what I had to do. I had to feed myself. And how did I feed myself? I read more. I studied more. I got closer to God, and that's how you get closer to God, by opening His Word, right? By reading His Word, by worshiping, by praying, and just getting up close and personal, building that personal relationship with Him, talking with Him every single day, and finding out what your real identity is.
Yeah, I didn't have that before. Before I didn't even love myself before. I didn't.
And if you didn't love yourself,
I didn't even know what loving yourself was until after.
And it's a shame because a lot of young people go through that. If you don't love yourself, how can you love God?
Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of I'm a youth pastor now, and I talk to a lot of young people, high school, middle school, and what they usually tell me is the church took away my parents. They don't have time for me. All they say is church, and they drag me everywhere they go. Now, I didn't have that problem because when I was your age, well, not your age, but when I was like in my teenage years, I was going to church by myself. So I didn't have that problem. So I feel like you did though. Remembering your mom, it's only your mom was a single parent, and she was involved heavily in the church. So, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, it definitely took a lot of her time. I was mostly raised, my mom had to work full time as well, and then she's also putting almost all her time into the church. She was a leader, people would look for her advice, attention, and then, you know, I just thought it was cool. You know, she's working for God, and then.
But what about like when you had like school activities? Like I remember you used to be in dance. We went to go see you a couple times.
Yeah. My mom at first didn't let me, and then I just signed up without her knowing.
Why didn't she let you?
Because it was worldly. I'm gonna be dancing to worldly music.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. The culture again, right?
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, you know, sometimes I wish I'm like, maybe when I was a kid, like, maybe if my mom put me to learn an instrument or in some classes to do something, you know, I feel like sometimes I was neglected, you know, like, ignored, abandoned.
Right.
Because I had no focus on me or my sister. We didn't have anything. Like, what do I know? I just know dance because I did that on my own because I loved to dance.
Because you signed up.
And I signed up.
Behind her back. And that's the
And I
only
didn't
reason.
even know the concept of a dance class until I was in high school. I thought people were born with their talents. I thought that they already knew how to play the guitar. They already knew how to do that, you know. But then, once you erase that mindset, it's like I can do anything. It's never too late to learn something, you know, even though that attention wasn't put into me. You know, at school, who looked at my report card or my grades? No one. I signed my own reading logs. I signed all the papers, you know. Sometimes I would show it to my mom so she could like look at it, I guess. But
So, I guess that's a lot of the mistake that.
because it's like God first. You have to
Yeah.
put God first. I would ask my mom, who do you love more? Like, oh, God. And it's like, your family. What about your family?
I think that's the mistake that most parents make, especially parents that focus on religion, because that's actually focusing on religion. It's not focusing on God's kingdom. When God gives you a family, that's your first ministry. And I've learned it. Once again, Pastor, I love you because I got that from you. Family is your first ministry, and I have a baby girl coming on the way.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that, you know, I don't make these mistakes. I want to make sure that she comes first.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I know that this pastor from Argentina, you remember Pastora Claudia?
Yeah.
She told me once, she said, Arvin, I need you to keep something in your mind and in your heart always. Whatever you do at church, anybody else can do it. Nobody, absolutely nobody can replace you at home. And that's been in here for the longest. Nobody can replace me as a husband. Nobody can replace me as a father.
Yeah.
So a lot of people make that mistake in thinking that they have to do this and do this at church. And, you know, whatever you have at church, I'm the drummer, I'm the youth pastor, I'm a House of Life leader, and somebody else can do that. But nobody can replace me at my home, at my house. I'm the only husband, and I'm the only father. So, take notes, because your family comes first. Family is the first ministry. It's like the last two questions that I'm gonna ask you. But like, how do you think how do you think church affects your life now? And like, if you could, what do you think could have kept you around?
Well, without church in my life, the time that I didn't go to church, well, I still don't go either, but in that beginning time was, how to explain this, because I didn't really find God till after, you know, He saved me, and I saw it firsthand, how He did that, and it wasn't at a church, it was in my house, you know, and then I was saved, and I don't know. I get stuck here because sometimes I feel like I don't need to go to church, that it's no point, but I know that I still need to be feeding myself. My soul still needs to pray, read the Bible.
Right.
But like honestly, I don't really care to involve myself in a congregation and speak with people. I'm just like in my own lane, doing my own thing and focusing on my own personal relationship with God. I read a book that really like helped me change my perspective, and it goes according with the Bible as well. It was The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy.
Okay.
And
you gotta check it out.
Yeah, like I feel like God revealed to me my own power as well, and I feel like sometimes you
like
have to
your
step
will
away. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I feel like sometimes stepping away is necessary to gain perspective. I feel like I went through what I went through to find my relationship with God, because it wasn't until after that I understood what He did for me.
Yeah.
The whole sacrifice and the cross. Yeah, He died to take my pain and suffering, but I didn't understand that because I guess I wasn't really going through pain and suffering until I was gone from the church.
Right.
But maybe that's what I needed.
To step away.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Because people are so involved in your relationship with God. Like they were telling us how it has to be. And I just found it on my own.
Everybody has their own relationship with God.
Yeah.
And it's different.
It's personal.
It's personal. You're right. But what do you think could have kept you around? Like, what do you think right now can tell you come back home, and you will come back home?
I don't know.
Or what do you miss?
What do I miss?
Yeah.
I miss being a part of something. Like I know the church is His body, right?
I was just about to tell you that. You are a part of something. You're a body, you're part of the body of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to a congregation, when it comes to the body of Christ, you can't operate with just one body part, right?
Yeah.
So when you're the body of Christ, you have to be together with the whole body in fellowship, in worship.
Yeah.
Worship is a lifestyle, right? But not that I'm telling you what to do here,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like some churches, not all churches, but some churches don't live up to that. Some churches actually push you away. And one thing I do want to tell you before this is over is that we can't blame God for the actions of people.
Yeah.
And people are humans, just like you and I, and we make mistakes. I know I wasn't the perfect leader, but I know that I did my best with what I knew at the time.
Yeah.
Just like I'm doing my best right now with what I know right now. And the only way I can get better is by getting closer to Him, getting closer to God, living my life according to His Word. And, thank God I left the church before. I left the church when I was your age. And I came back, how old are you, 20? You're 20 right now, right?
I'm about to be 21.
I came back to Christ at age of 21.
Mm-hmm.
I came back when I was age 21. I left the church when I was 16, and I came back when I was 21. And I went through a lot through those years. But what I have learned throughout these years in leadership, leading young people like you, is that the closer we get to God, the more we find out how we need to be in fellowship. We need to be in unity, and we need to not fall into what the culture is giving us.
Like sometimes, I don't even want that, because
Yeah.
before it was so troublesome, always butting heads, because we were young, and the older youth members, they looked down on us as well because we weren't part of their youth group when we were still, children or whatever.
Gotcha.
But it's like I just know that I have what I want. I'm gonna work for it. God has my back, and I have faith, and that's the most valuable thing that I have because I have nothing, and I just have God, and that's how I'm just walking now. I don't know what's next. I just know what I want. I want to be successful. Can't settle, and I know God has my back, and I don't know, where this is gonna lead either, but just taking it step by step.
Taking it step by step is the best thing you can do. Having faith is something that nobody can take away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Having God by your side is the best thing as well.
Yeah.
I'm nobody to tell you. I may be a pastor, but I'm nobody to tell you go to church.
Yeah.
Nor, if you notice, I haven't invited you to my church.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that you have to do on your own.
Yeah.
But what I will tell you is that anytime you need me, you know it.
Yeah.
I'm here. And anytime that you feel like you need to get closer to God, you know how to do it.
Yeah.
You're an adult,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody can take your faith away. Your success depends on God and yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Follow His will, follow His guidance, and hopefully we can work together again, because those are years that I miss.
Yeah.
And
We went hard.
We did, and we can continue.
Yeah.
But like you said, step by step and at God's time. So guys, this is a person that's very, very special to me. Very special to my wife and myself. We mentored her when she was a young person, and I hope I can continue mentoring you now that you're a little bit older. I hope that we see each other more. We've recently reconnected, and this is Raquel, Superman to Silverback. I hope you guys enjoyed this Unplugged series. I hope you guys enjoyed the real topics that some people are afraid to talk about, but we weren't afraid to talk about it, right?
No.
These are real topics. These are issues that people go through. These are problems that people go through in the church. The church is not perfect. Never will I say that any church that there's any church that is perfect, because the church is a place where we go and we feel like we get closer to God. The church is a hospital for people in need of God. You have to remember, the people that are in church are people that used to rob, people that used to be violent, people that caused damage to other people. So we're in need of help. And if you're in need of help, there's another seat right there waiting for you. Just like my pastor says. My pastor says this thing. I've used my pastor 3 times in this video, and my pastor says something that impacted me really bad. He says, when he tells people to come to church, they say, I don't want to go to church with a bunch of hypocrites. He said, well, there's one more seat waiting for you. There's room for another hypocrite. And that's so true. Because the church is full of hypocrites. Yes. The church is full of sinners. Yes, I'm one of them. The guy behind the camera is one of them. We're all sinners. But this is what God came to do over 2,000 years ago. This is what Jesus came to do. He came to save us and to let us know that by His grace we are saved. So I hope this Unplugged series helped you out in some way. I hope it impacted you in some way, and I hope we see Raquel more often, right? Yeah? Awesome. It's good to see you again, baby girl.
Yeah, it was nice talking and stuff.
Alright guys, so this is the Unplugged series. Raquel, aka Raquish. I called you Raquish. Superman to Silverback, and we out, y'all.